welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 81 of the cast. Tonight on the cast, we have myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zabrewulf. We're going to be talking about Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, and we're going to be talking about some nerdy news from the week, some Deadpool leaks, and whatever else comes up. It's been a while since we've been live, so apologies, but welcome back to anybody who's listening to us. I appreciate you being here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and let us know in the comments if you're watching a replay what you think of all this content that we're talking about. So without further ado, here we go. Yo, brother, what's up? How are you?
What's going on, Finto?
I'm good, dude. How are you?
Oh, great. Just been a busy week and happy to be back,
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. It's this is episode 81. I don't think we've done a podcast in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, I just felt with everything going on this week, I thought, we got to get together. We got to have a chat because there's a good bit going on in the nerdy world, and I think it's good to just have a chat. So let's just dive straight in, I suppose. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever came out this week. It's like the last movie installment of Phase 4. So next movie that's coming out is going to be Ant-Man 3, and that's going to be, I believe, in February, and that's going to be the start of Phase 5. I don't think this is the last thing in Phase 4, because I think the Guardians Christmas special, right?
We saw that's going to be Christmas special.
Yeah, that's going to be like the final thing of Phase 4. But this is the last movie, I suppose. So yeah, look, let me know, because I know we haven't even been speaking really offline, so I don't know how you felt about the movie. I'm very curious.
Oh, dude, honestly, man, like when I came to do it, I had lowered expectations because I was thinking, you know what, Chadwick Boseman's not going to be in there. They're going to have an homage to him, and yeah, it's going to be kind of sad. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I just don't really think Shuri can handle this. And to be completely honest, man, like as the story goes along, as the movie's going along, I start actually thinking that Shuri can do this. I think that Shuri can actually handle this, and that there's more about Shuri than we thought. And especially with the whole coping situation, they really did a great job of having her like coping with with T'Challa being gone. Later on, we see that she deals with more loss, and that she has to like understand what she has to do in order to be a proper ruler for the time being. And it starts to hit, and I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling it, like it's starting to ramp up, and I'm like, cool. And I thought it ended really well. I thought I teared up, man. Like I still really wish that Chadwick Boseman was still alive, and that we could, go on with T'Challa. But I mean, that ending, like you saw it too, man, in the mid credits, like that was fantastic. I thought that was a great ordeal to work with. That puts us forward. That's something that we look forward to now. And what did you think about that?
Like for me, there was a lot of the movie that I enjoyed. Like there was like some kind of surprises that I didn't see coming. I didn't see the whole thing with Val and Ross being like, divorced, a divorced couple and stuff. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But I don't know, like I did have problems with the film. I thought the pacing was all over the place. I saw somebody put up a comment on, now again, I didn't dig into it this deep, but I saw somebody put up a tweet about it saying we got 7 minutes of Black Panther in the movie, like, which is actually, when you think about it, wild.
It's strange.
Yeah, 7 minutes of actual Black Panther footage in the Black Panther movie. Now, obviously, I know there's a lot involved in kind of rebuilding Wakanda, and like it getting Shuri up to speed and ready to kind of take on the mantle, and like building the heart-shaped herb and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But like I think it should have been done a lot quicker. There's probably a lot of the movie, that could have been cut out, and the movie would have still paced the same. I find. Yeah, I really do. I think there was a lot of it that was just really, really kind of slow and just not great. My girlfriend turned to me, and again, she's a massive MCU fan. She's not as sweaty as we are about all the content, but like she's a big fan of the MCU. And she turned to me about an hour and a half into it, just goes like, I'm actually bored watching this. Like it's boring. And I'm like, I've heard a lot of people say the same thing, like I feel the same way. I didn't really like Riri Williams, and I'm not the biggest fan of Shiri to begin with. I like, I think that kind of dampened the experience for me from the the get-go, because like, I've never really liked her that much. I thought she was kind of cool when she's like the techie kid just helping out T'Challa and stuff, but I'm like, I don't think the actress is a good enough actress to be like leading a movie, and I don't think the character is good enough to be the Black Panther. Like, I know obviously she becomes a Black Panther later on in the comics and so on, but she kind of
Mhm.
looks like a much more of a badass in the comic books than she's portrayed in the movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't know, like, and I probably should have said this at the start, but if there's anybody listed, there's going to be obviously heavy spoilers in this podcast. So
Yeah.
if you haven't seen the movie, maybe just mute the tab. But I appreciate it, people who are hanging out. So, but yeah, like it's a lot of it just seemed to be rushed. There was just too much going on. Like the Namor stuff was really cool. Really liked him. But
Mhm.
again, I felt like we got a little like kind of a sprinkle of what he's about, and then it just kind of kicks off, and it just was all over the place. And then Shiri goes to the underwater world and all this stuff, and I'm just like, this is all over the place, like, and
Right.
it was just, and then like, because there's so many subplots going on at the same time, like I remember thinking to myself as well, and this is always a bad sign, but I remember thinking to myself when I was watching, I was like, geez, we have to be about 2 hours into this movie now, and we haven't seen a Black Panther yet. I know Riri hasn't built her suit yet, which again, awful suit, terrible, hate it. I thought when I saw it, there was a leak for it like 2 weeks ago on Twitter, and I genuinely thought it was a leak for a Fortnite skin. No joke. Like I
Jeez.
genuinely thought it was a Fortnite leak. It looks awful, bro. I hate it. So not a big fan of Riri. Like, and that movie doesn't leave me open to wanting to see this Riri show that they're working on. I don't
Mhm.
care. I really don't care. I love M'Baku. Where was he the whole movie? Like, he should be, co main event in this movie. Like, he's
Right.
incredible. He's incredible. And like
Exactly.
Winston Duke is an incredible actor. He plays the part so perfectly. He's funny. He's serious. He's a badass. I'm like, you know, I want to see more. Like, where the hell is he? Like, and Okoye and everything. Like, she again, another badass. Like, and it's just like I felt like the people who should be front and center in the movie weren't. It was really strange. And
Right.
then, like, 7 minutes of a Black Panther, was weird. The ancestral plane when Michael B. Jordan came back again, I wasn't surprised. Many people probably were. I was like, I would be shocked if he wasn't in the movie,
Mhm.
So when he showed up, I was just like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, it wasn't like a kind of oh my god moment, like, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, of course he's going to be in the movie, like, so. And
Right.
it's yeah, I don't know. Like, I just felt really weird to me. And I suppose the funny thing is, my favorite scene in the entire movie was the mid-credit scene. That was the best part of the movie for me, when
Mhm.
they introduced little T'Challa. And again, I knew this was coming from a long time ago, but and again, it was obvious. But the way that they did it was really cool. And like, she's like, "Who are you? Like, what's your real name?" And he's like, "I am Prince T'Challa,
Son
son
of
of
T'Challa.
son of King T'Challa and all." You're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god." So I was like, and I kind of feel like this is like how they kind of did Spider-Man No Way Home as well. Like, they're very kind of cleverly kind of retconning what came before.
Mhm.
And, I feel like what's probably going to happen is because, Kevin Feige said, look, we're never going to recast T'Challa, but now they're going to actually, most likely in about like 5 or 10 years time, they're going to
Actually
bring in
recast him.
they're going to bring in the new T'Challa, and they're just going
Right.
to, it's going to be, oh, this is the son of T'Challa who's also called T'Challa, and then he'll take over and just do all the T'Challa stories. So
Well,
it's clever. It's clever.
yeah. And that fits into the story in the sense that like within 5 years or so, like if you think about it, Storm
Hmm.
gets married to Black Panther in the comics, so they could
Yes.
still kind of like bake that in later on. So like we
Yeah.
still can see something like that in the future, which I think would be really cool.
So
And
do you
then
think
maybe,
Storm would marry the son of T'Challa, like
yeah,
T'Challa Junior?
yeah, why not? Like have them together, put them in, and then
Yeah.
like make this T'Challa even more nerdy and
Yeah.
more of a scientist because he's one of the powerful minds of like the world itself. Like he's
Yes.
one of
Yeah.
the big four,
Hmm.
and like he's no slouch. So like that's why they kind of like put it in when Shuri was like, I learned from my big brother
Yeah.
about how to do all this kind of stuff. Which that's why I think that I really think the show actually does well is the fact that they kind of like put in everything that kind of works towards what Shuri does is because she learned from her brother and she learned that like her brother was like a very big influence on her and that's what I really liked about that. And then in terms of like with Riri Williams, I honestly liked her. I just but I'm on the same boat as you. I don't really feel like I'm excited to see her later, like again. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's cool. Regarding the suit, I think the reason why you thought it was boring was because it was too much of a like like a bring back to the whole like Iron Man situation. Like, oh, we've already seen this before. Like, there's no reason to see this again. But I like the spin that she had on it. You know, like it was one of those things where you see the Iron Man colors and then you see like the arm cannon, and you're like, okay, so she's kind of putting her own spin on it, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole fight scene, like with Shuri, and yeah, that was kind of lame. That was actually pretty lame. Like, it wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. Most of the time I was thinking like, oh, well, okay, she has the abilities of the previous Black Panthers. She has the knowledge of the sword, and she was also trained like within Wakanda, so she should know her combat abilities. She should know like what she's capable of.
Hmm.
But she did put a little bit of tech into it, which I thought, like, her brains were basically the way to beat Namor.
Hmm.
But I like tell me about Namor. What did you think about Namor? I really liked his like the style. I like the boots, like, or like the wings on the side. I thought it was really
Yeah.
good how they kind of put into where it was heat. Like, he can't really be powerful unless he has like water
Yeah.
around his body.
That made sense. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he spent like hundreds of years underwater. So yeah, that would make sense.
Hmm.
I really liked Namor. He was like my favorite part of the movie. Like, he was probably my favorite like new character in the movie. Um, you know, I was intrigued to see more. And I thought like I can't think of the name of his race of people. I
Oh,
like,
the Talokan.
yeah, yeah, like they were cool, like they were badass.
Yeah,
But I just feel like they were kind of nearly underutilized a little bit. Like, like we
they
didn't
really
see that
were.
we didn't see that much of them, which is crazy to say because like they were the main villains of the film, So
Hmm.
it was kind of wild that we didn't even get to really see too much of them. And again, that again falls back on the pacing. It was just really strange.
Right, and then you see like like you find out like near the end that the Talokan wanted to go to war. Like, they wanted to
Mhm.
push. They were the actual people that were causing Namor to be a little more aggressive than he should have been.
Yeah,
Had he been level-headed, maybe this wouldn't have happened, but the Talokan were like, "No, we need to push this. Fuck these guys."
yeah,
And Namor's like, "No, we just gained a power. Like, they're going to need us later." Which
exactly.
is going to set up for like the next few movies that are going to come up.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I loved like, my favorite part, I think, was when he referred to himself as a mutant. I was kind of like, oh shit, like I was like, that's cool. Again, like my girlfriend didn't really know too much about him. I was telling her like, he's one of the first mutants in Marvel Comics. Like, so I was
Mhm.
like, it's pretty cool that they're introducing him and dropping the word mutant. It's like, because
Yeah.
we haven't really heard the word going around too much. Like, it's been popping up a little bit now, in very recent projects, but
Mhm.
I thought that was very cool.
I, I'm
Um,
just I'm just half expecting every time they say mutant, you just hear the jingle.
Yeah.
"Da-da-da-da-da."
Yeah. So like I don't know, like what do you think's next for Namor? Like, it's do you think that there's gonna be a collective kind of war? See, okay, I gotta talk about something, right? So
Yeah.
um there's been, and I don't know if you knew about this, but there was rumors going around for a long time on the lead up to this movie that we were going to be getting our first look at Doctor Doom. There was an after credit scene
Right.
shot with a guy in a suit, and it was meant to be Doom. Then there was rumors saying that it actually is the actor who's going to play Doom. He came out to set and shot scenes, but we won't see his face. And then very last minute, they cut the after credit scene from the movie because they didn't want to take focus away from the grief and everything. They didn't want everybody on the internet just talking about Doctor Doom. So they were like,
Right.
let's keep it away from the movie for now, and we'll let it focus on the movie itself.
Mhm.
So yeah, like knowing what was going to be coming, it's like Doom is looking for vibranium, and it seems like that's where it's going to go. Like, I think he'll either get his hands on some, or he'll be very close to getting his hands on someone. I'd say Namor and like Shuri will have to work together and combine
Yeah.
an army to try and fight off Doom. I think that's where it's going.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, because like Doom would want the best resources known to man. Like
Yeah,
that makes total sense. Like, he would attack Talokan, and then the Talokan would be like, upset with Namor and be like, "What is this bullshit?" like you're supposed to be protecting us. Where's our team? And then they call the Wakandans, and then they go to Latveria, and then we get to see like the hometown of Latveria. We find out that maybe it's been like cloaked because we still haven't heard anything about it yet, because it
Yeah.
exists. Like they
Yeah.
has to exist within the world. Like you
Facts.
have all these powerful minds, and yes, of course, Doom would be like being so secluded, wait for that one moment to strike, and that's what I was waiting for with the after credits.
Hmm.
And it was really that was really disappointing. Not seeing
Yeah.
any after credits for anything. I get it. You wanted to, pay an homage to Chadwick Boseman. We felt it during the movie. We felt it during the mid credits. It's time to move on. It's time to
Yeah.
get going. Like we need more MCU. Like we've only scratched the surface. Like this is one of the first movies that we've seen in a while that actually pushes more story forward, but
Hmm.
in a direction that we don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
Like in the sense, like if there's so much cut content, like figure out what works and put us on that path. At the very least, for Ant-Man, we know that he's going to be attempting to go back into the quantum realm at some point, or his family, and you see it in Quantumania. They go down there. We know that what's his name, Kang the Conqueror, like exists in in the quantum realm in the Chronopolis. Like so, we know that people are there, and so why couldn't they do that for Black Panther?
Yeah, like I think it was a bit of a mistake. I do believe that any kind of hype is good hype, whether it's if whether it's talking about Chadwick or it's talking about Shuri or the Black Panther or the future of the
Mhm.
Black Panther or the future of Wakanda. I think anything that's gonna, like, the fact that if you would have everybody talking about Doom, like, that lifts the movie itself up, whether you're talking about someone from the Black Panther cast or not. Like, so I don't understand why they keep cutting stuff out. They're like kind of too afraid to put the pedal to the metal, like, like, it feels like
Yeah.
they're just afraid, like they're pushing back for some reason, and I don't understand it. In all these projects that we've watched across phase 4, there's been rumors of cancellations for nearly every single project. Like, WandaVision would have been enhanced if they had Doctor Strange. Like, they brought Benedict on, sorry, yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. They brought him
Yeah.
on. They've shot scenes with him, and then they cut them. And like, we know that we had more scenes with Kingpin in Hawkeye, and they cut them. And
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's just there's just so much going on, and like, I just don't understand why they're cutting all this stuff. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's mainly because they want to emphasize like the new group. It's like you want that new group to be like front and center. Like that's why when in Wakanda Forever, that's why we have Riri and we have Shuri up front and up like in center. When to be completely honest, like the Dora Milaje are huge in
Mhm.
Wakanda. Like they're a very important thing. Shuri did kind of like show off that the new suits like for the Midnight Angels, which
Yeah,
is in the comic books, which is cool. But like we didn't see very much of that either. Like they waited until the last minute to start that up, and that was like that sucked.
I thought
Like
those
that would
suits. I thought those suits were cheesy as fuck, bro. I hated
oh
them.
they 100% cheesy,
They
but
were
that's how they
awful,
looked in
bro. Oh,
that's
they
how
were
they looked in the
so bad.
comics.
They looked so bad. I was like, what are these, like, masks? They look like kind of like shitty L masks or something, like the weird eyes
Yeah.
and everything. I wasn't into it. Wasn't into it at all.
But yeah,
Um,
like
I thought they would have just made them more Panthers, like, you know what I mean? Like, because, like,
yeah.
I know there was rumors going around as well, like, obviously people breaking down all the trailers and stuff like that, and someone had like grabbed a screenshot from the trailer, and it's like, this is not Shuri's Black Panther suit. Like, there's going to be more than one Panther. And when I heard her at the start of the movie talking about how she's making suits that are going to be made from tech and they're going to give people super strength and super speed, I'm like, oh my god, yes! Like, there's going to be multiple Panthers, and I wanted M'Baku to become a Panther as well. Like, imagine
Yeah.
him as a Black Panther. That would have been
I,
incredible. You know?
I think the problem is that they might have ended up turning into the Wakandan Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Like
But like, that
because
would have.
M'Baku's like worshiping like the
Yeah.
the gorilla god, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's got a gorilla costume. Just
But
like
honestly, that would have been better than what we got, I think, to be honest. Like, it's kind of like, it's a bit of a strange one. Like, I did like the movie. I'm not gonna be terribly rushed to rewatch it though. Like, I'll
right.
definitely rewatch it when it goes on to Disney Plus to give myself a second viewing of it. But like, it's not gonna be one that enters my like list of like constantly rewatch. Like, it's not going to be a comfort movie for me.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, I could throw on the Spider-Man movies. Like, if I'm ever just like, oh, I have like an hour to kill, like, I'll just pop on like Homecoming or something, or just watch one of the Toby movies or something like that, like, or a Civil
Right.
War, Infinity War, all these movies like that you can just watch over and over and over again. This
Mhm.
movie, like, for me, if I was to rank this, I would say somewhere between like maybe like 12 and 15 in the overall rankings.
Oh, that's not bad though. I was thinking you were gonna rank it even lower.
Well, like that's like mid, like that's a halfway point, like, you know, so it's
It's
not great. It's not
it's,
great, you know what I mean?
it's
And
an
I kind of
MCU movie, remember? Like you said before.
I know. Well, this is it. They set the bar so high for themselves. Like the top 10 in the MCU is incredible. Like the
Mhm.
content is just wild. You know, and it's so hard to I might actually try and I'm gonna write them all out, or I'm gonna get a website that actually has them all listed. And I'm gonna try and do my actual definitive list, and I'll post it on our Twitter or something. But I really would love to put the time in and actually do it. Like I have an
Yeah.
idea, but I would love to get it officially down now that Phase 4 is pretty much finished.
I mean,
But
I,
yeah,
I think it'd be cool if like all three of us did. Like Hoff has
yeah,
his,
yeah,
I
yeah,
have
yeah.
mine. And we
Yeah,
see
like
we
absolutely.
compare and start arguing about it.
Yeah, or if like, you know, if people want to comment below on this video and like do out their lists, I'd love to read some lists of what people
Yeah,
think. Like
that'd
absolutely.
be
So
great.
please, yeah, please do. If anyone's listening to this now or live or on a replay, drop it down in the comments below. Let us see what your lists look like. Even just your top 10 maybe. Like, you don't have to go
Mhm.
all like I think there's like 31 projects now, so you don't have to go all
Yeah.
31. Yeah. So what would you rank the movie? Like I think it's sitting on like a 7.5 on IMDb, which I think is a very fair score. I would actually probably give it a 7. I'd give it a little less.
No, I,
What's
I
you
give it I give it like a 7.5, closer
Yeah.
to an 8, just because of the fact that it really did pay a good homage. I think it did well on paying the homage. Um, it didn't paint a good enough picture on what the future is going to hold, except for the fact that we are going to get a a T'Challa Black Panther in the future again.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's to be kind of assumed. And I
right.
thought that was clever. That was like my biggest takeaway from the movie was
Hmm.
the fact that it's like, okay, they've very cleverly kind of brought in a child of T'Challa and called him T'Challa. So when,
Hmm.
you know, it comes to his time to take over, everyone will just be like, oh, King T'Challa, the Black Panther. Like, you know, and it's like,
It's been
yeah,
like nothing happened.
and like, you know,
It's,
with all due respect, we
right.
forget about Chad, you know, and you know, we just got to
Yeah.
give it that time for it to heal. Like, as you know, Feige had said, we will never recast Chadwick Boseman's character, and that they're not doing that. But at the
Right.
same time, they kind of are, you know. So
Yes.
it's a very clever way of doing it and a very sensitive way of doing it. So you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. They probably will wait 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it's going to take, but I'm sure they will do it because I can't imagine they're going to do another like time jump. What's kind of funny is, you know, in 2019, I was always thinking like, why did they jump 5 years into the future? And I was kind of thinking at the time, oh, I wonder are they going to take a break from the movies for a while? And then they actually catch up to 2023, 2024. And it's kind of, we're nearly there now. It's kind of mad when you think about it, right? Like we're nearly there. And the MCU timeline wise hasn't actually jumped forward that much. It hasn't moved 4 years in real life as opposed to in the movies. So like we're not in 2028 in the movies. We're still kind of hanging around 2024. So
Exactly.
real life time is actually catching up with the MCU, which I find to be interesting. So I think I was
Yeah.
right back in 2019 when I said what I said. Um,
Do you think that's partially why they canceled some projects, because they were thinking like, "Oh man, we're not gonna like reach that same deadline as the actual time that we're dealing with." Like imagine that they had so many projects, but because it was gonna reach further into like the later years, that they couldn't like quite squish it into the same time frame.
yeah, yeah, like it's yeah, like I think they probably had a plan to like jam pack the schedule and
Mhm.
then, you know, 2 years of like 2 years of content for us would only last like 6 months in the timeline of the MCU sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I don't know. Like I think when they initially did the time jump, they probably thought like, you know, after Endgame we're gonna take a break. And then maybe
Right.
they thought like, okay, actually we can't do that because of Disney Plus and subscriptions and blah blah blah. Let's just start piling on TV shows and doing all this crazy shit. But like, you know, like we were 2 years. I think it was like even in 2021, we were still going back to the blip and we were still talking about stuff that happened in 2019. So
Mhm.
it's like, you know, it felt like we were stuck. Like it just feels like the timeline is going so slow
Right.
with
And
the MCU.
I agree wholeheartedly. And now that we're finally reaching into something even further down the line with Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumanium,
Mhm.
I'm really excited for that, just for the fact that like we're finally kind of moving into the next years. of the MCU, and we're actually going to see Kang now, and we're actually going to
Yeah.
see like an advancement in the storyline, and not just keep going back in time
Yeah.
and dealing with like, because I mean, with in regards to let's say Moon Knight, is Moon Knight like one of the more recent ones that you could say like happens during the time that all this stuff is going on?
Moon Knight is a weird one because Moon Knight, like, there's no reference to the MCU at all. So that show could be taking place in 1993 for all we care. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Like, so I don't know. Like, I actually I just read a thing today that the second season of that show is going to start filming in January. So like that's
Good.
going to start. Yeah, that's going to start soon, which is good. I want to see more, of course.
Mhm.
I'd prefer to kind of maybe just see him jump into a movie or something and be like a kind of co-star slash cameo crossover team up kind of thing in another movie. I think rather than watching another series of the show. But like maybe we get both. We'll have to see.
Mhm.
I'm just very curious because Phase 4 seemed kind of like Phase 2. Phase 2 had some hiccups in it as well, and like I think now Phase 5 we're going to be fucking like it's going to be ramping up, like it's going to be getting crazy, and like there's I suppose like yeah, we could just start talking about some kind of rumors that are out there and kind of Phase 5 hype, but you know. I don't know if you saw during the week, but there was some kind of Deadpool 3 rumors that were floating around, and they also had some. I don't know if it was like initially linked with Loki too, but basically Owen Wilson has been confirmed to be in Deadpool 3, right? So
That's gonna be awesome.
as his character of Mobius in
Right.
Deadpool 3, and he's gonna have a pivotal role in the movie. So basically the kind of speculation out there is that what's gonna happen is Deadpool and uh Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, are going to be
Mhm.
basically on the run trying to escape an incursion. And more if they're going to go to the TVA or get sucked into the TVA, or the TVA are going to be after them because the guys are somehow, because he's at the end of Deadpool 2, he still has the tech from Cable. So he's probably
Right.
he's bouncing around timelines and stuff. So the TVA are probably like, who the fuck is this guy? What's he up to? You know what I mean? So they're going to be trying to track him down. So I'd say, like, can you just imagine what it's going to be like having Owen Wilson, like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman on screen together as a trio? Like, holy shit, bro.
That's gonna
Like,
be so fun.
it's going to be amazing, dude. And another kind of pile on to what, like, that Owen Wilson news, which was obviously massive during the week. But basically, it came out then, I think on Thursday, maybe, or Friday,
Mhm.
that on top of that, Deadpool is going to start bouncing around the Fox universe, and apparently he's going to go to the original Fantastic Four universe. So, like, Chris
I'm
Evans is
down with
Johnny
that.
Storm and stuff. So, could you imagine? Because I know it kind of the Hollywood trades brought out like maybe 2 years ago at this stage that they heard that Chris Evans had signed on for two more projects. One of them is most likely Secret Wars. I thought maybe the other one would be Kang Dynasty. Could you imagine that his second appearance was actually a Johnny Storm appearance in Deadpool 3?
Oh man, I would love that.
Oh my god, bro. It'd
So we
be
could just see the
so,
old
so cool.
we'll see the old school charisma of Chris Evans as
Yes,
Johnny Storm.
yes. And then Deadpool could just be like, "Hey, aren't you Captain America?" Like, there's so many jokes in there. And then, like, imagine like him and like Wolverine and Deadpool jump into the other Fox universe with Miles Teller, and
Mhm.
then it's like, it's like, "Hey, aren't you Killmonger?" Like, it's just there's just so many fourth wall break opportunities. Like, I think it's absolutely hilarious. Like, I think it's gonna be top notch stuff,
Mhm.
top
I
notch. So
I'm hoping in terms of the hijinks, because Wolverine is so high strung and easily like pissed off, that we're gonna see some moments where like he's gonna stab Deadpool a couple times or
yeah,
even
yeah,
cut off
yeah,
his
yeah.
head and
Yeah, 100%. Like, he's gonna be like sticking like the claws through his face, trying to kill him and all, and like he's gonna be like picking them out, just like, "Can you please stop doing that?" you know? Yeah, it's dude. It's like, honestly, this movie, even without the Fantastic Four news and the Owen Wilson news, this movie was already like a 1.2, $1.5 billion movie. It's gonna be
yeah.
massive, massive, bro. This is Avenger level stuff. Like, this is
Mhm.
Infinity War Endgame level shit. I think.
Well,
Like,
I
I think this.
remember I remember the first time we had the announcement of Deadpool 3 coming around, everyone was like super psyched. They're like, "Fuck yeah,
Insane.
give us
Yeah,
more." But they
insane.
were kind of worried. They're like, "Well, is it going to be the same thing as the previous two? Like, or is it going to be rated R? Are we going to have like
Mhm.
the blood, the gore, the the language and all the ridiculousness?"
Mhm.
And I think they've set it in like we're totally gonna go all in on that. And then to top that off, like with nice little sprinkles and a cherry on top, they give us fucking Hugh Jackman to coming back. Oh my goodness.
But now Owen Wilson on top and potentially Chris Evans as well. Like all these guys are comedy actors. So like imagine how they're all gonna like intertwine and work together. It's gonna be insane, dude.
Hmm.
Insane. And like just to go back to because I was talking about box office and I just wanted to go back to Black
Hmm.
Panther for a second. I had said I was involved in a thread, and sometimes I hate getting involved in these threads online because sometimes like I'll say something sweaty or nerdy in a comment, and people will start talking to me, and I'm just like I waste half my day kind of just like chatting with people. And I got stuck in this fucking thread talking about box offices and stuff like that with Black Adam and all this stuff. And I had said like I wouldn't be surprised if Black Panther beat Black Adam in one day. And I was like, and I feel very sorry for The Rock because he's put so much into this. But Black Adam's going to come out, or Black Panther's going to come out and just absolutely shit all over it. And that's pretty much what's happened. Like, I actually
Yep.
checked before we went live today. I checked how the box office was doing for the movie, and I think there are 330 globally. Like, pretty much that's probably for the Saturday. That probably hasn't included any numbers for today. So I would say
Hmm.
today they're probably going to overtake Black Adam. And that's in what, 3 days' time? Like 3 days
Yeah.
out, like in the box office worldwide. Crazy.
But well, you have to take into consideration too that DC's been sitting for too long. They've been sitting around for too long and not really like having any sort of sense of direction. And so like even if they were to come out with like two or three things right now, if they were to just come out like if MCU just comes out with something really big for a film, like even if Ant-Man was pushed forward and now we get to see it even sooner during the time that you see the DC movies,
Hmm.
Ant-Man's still going to overtake it
Oh yeah, of
because
course.
it's just the consistency, man. Like and that's why when it came to Disney and Disney Plus, like as much as like we hated all this like like pushing and giving us all this stuff, like the majority of people love that shit. That's
Mhm.
why people love Loki so much. Like you already know our opinions. We didn't really, Hoffman and I didn't really care too much about it, but
Do you know
it
what's
hit you.
what's what's wild about that is that like so many people I see like big like kind of Marvel creators online, they all rank Loki like at the top of Phase 4.
It's
Like
nuts.
yeah, I don't know, and I don't understand. Like I really do think it probably was the best show. It was the most impactful show that we got
Yeah.
out of all the Disney Plus shows. Like the introduction of Kang, the introduction of like Mobius, and how well Mobius and Loki work together. Like realistically, like we've been talking about like Mobius moving over to Deadpool. Like maybe Loki goes too. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the two of them probably seem quite inseparable. Like so, I wouldn't be surprised if we get Loki season 2 now in Phase 5, and that like links into Deadpool 3, and then Deadpool 3 links into like the Kang Dynasty. Like it's all kind of just going to come like
It's come
crashing in
together.
together. Like it's like we've been itching for connective tissue for the entire Phase 4, and I think now Phase 5 it's going to be so connected, it's going to be crazy.
Right. And like the fans and the population, they love branching, but I think with all the shows that have come out so far, there have been way too many branches. And I
Mm,
think that's why Loki is so beloved from what you're saying because that's the main branch. That's the
yeah,
main thing pushing us forward. That's one of the things we've been waiting for. And so that's why with Ant-Man like we're seeing the next step, the
yeah,
next part of the tree.
yeah,
So like I totally understand that. I just think it could have done a lot better. But I do have to agree in terms of like everything that's gone on, all the shows that we watched so far. Beside like Moon Knight aside, because I for sure I am a huge fan of Moon Knight in this sense now. I think that Loki is the top out of everything. We didn't really care too much for Wanda. Falcon and the Winter Soldier actually is getting better as you watch it because I remember rewatching it and it did get better.
yeah.
I
I know
kind of missed a bunch of things.
Hoffman was talking very highly on it during one of the last casts that he was on, and yeah, I do need to go back and rewatch it. Yeah, I think we're going to be coming into a tiny bit of a dry spell over the holidays and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to have some time to rewatch some stuff. So yeah, I might just rewatch all of the Disney Plus shows, maybe
Mhm.
except for Miss Marvel. But we'll see how it goes. I actually think like even like She Hulk now that it's all said and done, I think on the rewatch might be a bit better. I think
I
if
think
you were
so
to like
too.
like say you watch the first 4 episodes of She Hulk one after the other, you had 2 hours to kill. I think that'd be a good 2 hours. Like to be honest, like it'd be fun, full of laughs and some good action and stuff. And then the last 2 episodes are good as well. Like or even the last three. Like it was, I think it was just 5 and 6 that were kind of really bad,
Yeah,
and
it
then it
started
kind of
kind of
came back.
pushing. Yeah, it started pushing everything in the wrong direction. When we watched the first couple of episodes, it was really empowering for, Tatiana playing as Jennifer. Like, she did a fantastic job. I believed her as the She-Hulk. I thought it was turning into like a fun situation. We were gonna have her, being a lawyer and whatnot. And then as it gets further down the line, it's like we're actually like straying further away from the fact that like she's a lawyer and caring more about like her feelings. And I'm all for caring about someone's feelings, but when you need to be a hero, you got to be a hero. And I think that's what didn't hit the mark in terms of She-Hulk.
Yeah,
She didn't want to be a hero. And
yeah,
what are you talking about? Like, if you're given these kind of powers, your responsibility is to be a superhero. You shouldn't even care if you're in a relationship or not.
yeah. Of
Like,
course,
and,
it's
and
life changing events. So, as described, you change your life. You know what I mean? Like you don't just go back to
exactly.
being a lawyer. And I understand like Daredevil does both, but at the end of the day, and this is shown across the 3 seasons of his show, that the second that Daredevil is needed over the lawyer thing, like Daredevil trumps Matt Murdock. Like that's
He
just the way
jumps
it
right
is.
in.
That's the responsibility of being a hero. Like you have to drop everything else. Like the rest of your life takes a back seat. And yeah, like it is wild. Like when you see like all of these like big superheroes that they don't have relationships. Like you'll hear like in No Way Home, like Peter, like Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker's like us getting the girl. It's just not what we do. It's not part of the description. It's not part of the life. It doesn't
Exactly.
happen for guys like us. So that's just what it is.
Right. And it's not that they can't. It's not that they're like there's no way that they can't. It's just they have a responsibility. They have a duty to live by. And that's part of the struggle. That's part of the whole idea of a superhero is the struggle. Yes, they want to be normal. They want to live normal lives, but they can't. It's it's a thing. Like, it's okay to to not be able to do what you can do. Like, or do what you want to do in a sense. Like, you got to be a hero, damn it. And I'm
Yeah.
tired of like that's why Moon Knight fits so well because he was trying to be a hero first.
Mhm.
He wasn't caring about the fact that like his ex came back into his life or his wife in the sense like that didn't matter. That was kind of like a subplot. It didn't even really like matter in the sense. It was
Yeah.
just more so like I need your help with this. We're going to go take care of this. Let's do this. And
Absolutely.
and when you see WandaVision, Wanda's struggle is like family. And that is total fucking awesome like story to work with, especially for the fact that she's trying to hold people in a cage in a sense, like for all the people that she's brainwashing and whatnot. And I like that concept. But then it just kind of got a little out of hand and a little wonky, and it didn't add up by the end of it. And
Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
like and that's why I think like even though most people like love Loki, that's where it falls because it started turning into like kind of a romance in a sense. Like by the end of it, like they were talking and kind of like bonding and whatnot, and like, that's cool and all. But like, where's the rest? Like, where's the plot? Where's the story? We're
Yeah.
supposed to move forward,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's
These are superhero movies at the end of the day.
they are,
Yeah.
and that's the point. They're
Yeah.
superhero
We're
movies.
talking about Marvel here, people. This isn't a
Yeah,
rom com. So
exactly.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, like yeah, like what do you? I don't know. I suppose like we can kind of nearly recap Phase 4 now. Like we're kind of in the end of it really at this stage. Like, what what was the best project of Phase 4,
To me, it was Moon Knight, man. Like it pushed in the right direction. I had fun watching it.
including movies?
Including movies. Well, not including movies. I'm talking
Oh,
mainly
I'm
just the
talking
shows.
about Phase
Oh,
4,
all
like the entire
mm.
Phase 4. What's the top of the table? Like it's got to be No Way Home, right?
No Way Home is pretty much at the top, but I feel like Multiverse of Madness is a contender for the fact that it does kind of the similar situation of like he wants to be with Christine, but he can't. He has to save the world,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's the formula, man. And I keep
Yeah.
going back to it because it's
I
it's
know.
it's obvious.
Yeah, this is it. This is the bread and butter,
Like, yeah, because Peter can't keep Aunt May. He had to lose Aunt May to learn, with great power comes great responsibility.
And he lets MJ go.
Yeah,
you know?
it worked. Like that's why we love those movies because like we
Yeah.
we understand the feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes you
100%.
got to work. can't be home all day.
I saw another rumor there during the week, just as we're talking about Spider-Man. Apparently, that Tom Holland has signed the contract. He's coming back.
I
He's
saw that.
yeah. I hope it's for like multiple appearances. Like I heard some crazy rumors during the week about Tom Holland. That he's going to potentially be in Into the Spider-Verse. So
Mhm.
he's going to be appearing in animated form there. And then that there's rumors of him popping into like Madam Web and stuff as well. Because like I know part of like the stipulation of him getting to actually be in the MCU was that they would use the MCU Spider-Man in Sony as well.
Mhm. And that makes sense. That makes total sense. Like, Marvel's given them a chance to kind of redeem themselves by letting them have, creative hand into the whole Spider-Verse situation. And it's worked. The only thing that Sony's done that actually worked on its own was Into the Spider-Verse, which I think that's their baby now. Like honestly, like they need to nurture that one and let the
Yes.
MCU handle all the live action Spider-Man stuff, cuz clearly they can't do live action. And so like hearing this collaboration with Tom Holland getting into it with Into the Spider-Verse 2, I think that's perfect because now they're like, okay, well, we take one of our best, we get like you take one of your best and we'll meld it together.
Yeah.
And I like it's gonna be exciting. And I know you're super excited about it, Finto, because like that would be I just can't wait to see, Andrew Garfield again.
Absolutely. Like I know, and I saw there's some kind of fresh rumors about Andrew Garfield going forward. I haven't really read too much into them yet, so I can't talk about it now. But for the next podcast, I'll be well educated on the potential of where Andrew's going next.
Mhm.
That comment just came up in the chat there, which is had to be put on screen. And for anybody who may be just listening to us, Tom Holland gets carried to bed by Zendaya, says Blakey. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
He is a bit smaller than Zendaya,
Short
right?
short kings unite. I think she's really tall. Like, so I kind of feel sorry for her because like Tom's probably the same height as me. So like Blakey, I don't appreciate this. Because I actually, when I was in London, funny enough, I don't know how I'm only thinking of this now, but when I was in London last, me and my girlfriend went to the wax museum, the
Mhm.
Madame Tussauds, and I stood beside Zendaya, and she's taller than me. Now, to be fair, she was wearing heels. And my girlfriend was like, "Do you want me to get a picture of you beside Zendaya?" And I was like, "No, I do not want this going on the internet." Oh, so funny, dude.
You just you want to test it out. You got to wear some heels next to her and see if it matters.
Yeah, I think if I went on my tippy toes, we might have been the same height. So, that's kind of the same as wearing heels, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
um, yeah, trying to kind of recap Phase 4 a bit for me, it's definitely No Way Home, 100%. I actually because I've been thinking about it, and a lot of the shows were kind of disappointing. I wasn't really disappointed by any of the movies. I think
Mhm,
all the movies were good. Shang-Chi was great. The Eternals, I keep finding that I enjoy it more and more as I rewatch it.
mhm.
And what else did we have movie wise? Oh yeah, sorry, Thor: Love and Thunder was not good.
It
So
it
that
wasn't.
movie is aging very poorly. Like the more I think about it, the more I'm really disliking it. You know, I rewatched it when I went up on Disney Plus, and I'm just like, bro, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
It they I think the writers were thinking that they wanted to push more on the feminist agenda whenever Jane showed up, which really hurt the show itself because
Mhm.
Thor's not supposed to be a dummy in the sense. Like, yeah, he's old school, he's Asgardian, but like every time Jane showed up with Thor, like it just turned into this situation like, oh my god, I'm like kind of dumb and like
Yeah,
apparently my hammer's alive and is jealous.
yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, come on, man, these are old like
It was
jokes." Like,
it was funny. They should have done the hammer joke once, and that should have been it. I think they
yeah,
did it like 3 times, and I'm like, come on, bro, 3 times in a 2-hour movie, you're doing the same joke. Like
see,
Taika's funny, but it just felt so childish and so stupid. I don't know what they were thinking.
yeah, and the whole goat situation. I remember you and I were thinking that they were going to overdo the goats. They didn't. They
Yeah,
really didn't. It was tolerable.
apparently there's a 4-hour Taika cut that exists of the movie. And like, to be honest, I'm curious. I would like to see what his full vision was, but I think he gave them a 4-hour cut and they went, "You are insane. We got to cut this down." Like it has to happen. But like, again, like I don't want to get hung up on Love and Thunder because it was really bad, but it just, yeah, like that movie could have been so much better. Like, could you, like, thinking about it now, it's actually, it's heartbreaking that that's what came, like that's what precedes Ragnarok. And I know that time in the MCU was like peak. That was the peak MCU right there. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it
Like,
was.
Ragnarok, Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, like even the first Black Panther movie. Like, now that we've seen Black Panther 2, I'm sorry, but the first Black Panther movie is so much better than the second one. Like,
Yes.
it's not even like debatable. You know what I mean? It's not,
Yes.
it's not. So yeah, it's just, it's kind of, there was definitely a lot of disappointments in phase 4, but I really think it's kind of like a kind of not a retcon, but like kind of like a little bit of a kind of reboot phase, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
They're kind of starting again with a lot of new characters and stuff, and I really want to see where some of these go. Like, again, I know we saw Val in Black Panther 2, but it's like, I thought like they could have given us a little more. Like, maybe someone from the Thunderbirds shows up, and then it's like, or the Thunderbolts. Did I say Thunderbirds? Someone from the Thunderbolts shows up, and maybe we kind of see the beginning of the formation of the team. Like, I know we've kind of seen her go to everybody individually, but imagine how cool it would have been if the last scene we see with Val, like, she's jumps into a car and John Walker and Yelena are sitting in the car or something, like, and it's like,
Yeah.
here we go, here we go. It's building it all up.
Or,
So
or even then, or even like seeing Hawkeye for no reason and be like, what the hell's going on
yeah,
with that? Like, why is he
yeah,
there?
yeah,
Giving us
yeah,
that introspective, like like Val shows up, who cares? Like and it shouldn't be that way. When every time we've seen Val so far, besides with Wakanda Forever, everyone's been like, oh shit,
yeah,
she's recruiting, she's bringing someone, and this one it was
yeah.
just like, like
When I first saw her, I was really excited, but then I quickly found out that she was just there for comedic purposes, and I was like, "Oh no,
yeah.
no, no, no."
I mean, it
Yeah,
was
so
it was cool that like we find out that she is part of like the organization that Ross is in,
mhm.
or what's his name, Rozzy or something like that. I can't
I think
remember.
his name is Ross as well,
It's
which I
so
thought was kind
confusing
of it's
sometimes.
kind it's kind of it's. I was like, it's kind of weird that his name is Ross too.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. So I'm like, oh, like, is he gonna become Red Hulk maybe or something? I'm like,
That'd be
what,
so stupid.
Yeah. So again, I know I'm trying to think back because I know we've been on a bit of a hiatus just because of Hoffman being absent for a little while, but he will return. People, don't you worry.
Mhm.
So I have trouble remembering what we have talked about and what we haven't in the last couple of weeks, because I know we did a Black Adam video on the channel, but we haven't
Mhm.
had a podcast in a while. So, like, have we even talked about the whole Thunderbolt Ross thing? I don't even think we have.
We had a little bit of a conversation. I don't think we mentioned too much about Harrison Ford, and the fact that like he's going to be part of the Thunderbolts.
Well, I don't know if some people may not notice, but Harrison Ford is signed on to replace William Hurt, who passed away maybe 2 years ago now. Like, I think he's gone a while now.
Yeah,
It
it's been
seems,
a while.
yeah. So he passed away, unfortunately. And they've cast Harrison Ford to appear as Thunderbolt Ross. And Thunderbolt Ross, if anyone who doesn't know, he becomes the Red Hulk in the comic books.
Mhm.
So, and he's like kind of the leader of the Thunderbolts. So he's signed on for apparently 2 movies, and he's going to appear in the Thunderbolts movie, but he's also going to appear in Captain America 4, which is crazy. So, what do you think of Harrison Ford being cast? Like, he's an 83-year-old man. I'm kind of thinking, like, he's jumping into a franchise, and like, he's going to be maybe 86 by the time he's like walking the red carpet for the Thunderbolts movie. I'm like,
Mhm.
this dude's getting old, bro.
Do you?
Scared. I'm scared.
I'm
You know,
I'm a little worried about that too, especially for the age. But I
Bro,
think
we
that they're
lost
going to
we lost Kevin Conroy this week, or IP
did.
to the true legend. I'm sorry to cut cross you there, but like,
No,
you know what I mean? This is what worries me. Like, like, I'm like, Harrison Ford's 83 years old. I hope he never dies, but he's gonna die soon. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be absolutely heartbreaking. And if he dies in the middle of like kind of shooting stuff, it's like, are they recasting him again? I'm like, this is kind of crazy, you know? So I don't know if they're going to get him in real quick and shoot his scenes, but then it's like, do they recast Thunderbolt Ross again? You know, it's kind of crazy. So, but like, yeah, it's weird, bro. Like, like Kevin Conroy dying, I'm like, it can happen to anybody at any time. Like, this dude's fucking, he was 66. He's been Batman for 30 years. When I read comic books, he's Batman in my head. Like, that is Batman. I'm reading it as Kevin Conroy's voice, like, so it's awful. And like, I really don't want that to happen to Harrison Ford. And like, obviously Harrison's old. He would, if he dies tomorrow, he's lived a good life, but I'm just thinking, I'm thinking, I'm very selfishly thinking of like the movies and, like how good it is for the movies.
Yeah, I think the best direction that they can go in terms of with Harrison Ford, if they're worried at the fact that maybe he could, pass away anytime soon, is just to have it so that when he transforms into the Red Hulk, it's like it's like a de-aging process. So
Yeah.
then then you have this new person like voicing over for the Red Hulk, and just keep him as Red Hulk forever, so that it's never so that you never have that issue of like, oh, we just need Ross back. Because as far as I've known in the comics, and anybody that's listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I have never heard of Red Hulk transforming back into Ross. I think it's as far as I remember, it's a permanent kind of transformation. I don't think I've ever seen like a reversal. So they could just work with that and just say that like he's permanently Red Hulk, and then just have someone with a different, like with a similar voice to Harrison Ford, just take over, mix that in with maybe a little bit of Lou Ferrigno, just so that you have that like extra roar, and then you're good. I think
Yeah.
that would work
Well,
work
like now they
well.
can use AI, like, what I mean? Like they're recreating Mark Hamill's voice on The Mandalorian using AI to make him sound 26 again. So it's like, if it's true, like you're probably right. That's probably what's going to happen. The second he becomes Red Hulk, we never see Harrison Ford again. And then they just use AI to recreate Harrison Ford's voice. Like
Yeah,
James Earl Jones just signed over his like voice likeness to be used by AI for Star Wars. So they can do Vader content for the rest of time and you use James Earl Jones. So yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. You're probably right. Yeah.
yeah, and I mean I love James Earl Jones, but you can tell, especially if you were watching the live action Lion King, it just doesn't sound the same
Yeah,
anymore.
no. When you get to a certain age, your voice starts to get shaky and kind of like a little hollow or something. Like you can see, like you
Mhm,
can hear the difference, and that's Harrison now. Harrison's a bit shaky now,
mhm.
He's not like even back in Star Wars Episode 7, like The Force Awakens. He was kind of really pretty old in that movie, but like, that movie was probably shot 8 years ago. It was released
Yeah.
7 years ago, so it was probably shot 8, maybe 9 years ago. You know what I mean? So he's 9 years older than he was then, and I felt he was old then. So it's like, what what
Yeah.
what, what condition is he going to be in to act right now? You know what I mean? In a year's time, they're probably not going to be shooting his scenes for another year as well. It's
Right.
crazy.
And another example is Christopher Lloyd. Like we all love that mad scientist, but like he just can't anymore. Like
You
he's
know, you
gotten.
know, you know, he's been cast for Mandalorian season 3.
I saw that, and I'm actually really excited to see him come
Do you
come through for that.
do you know? I don't know who keeps saying. Someone keeps saying it. I think it's Josh from the Den of Nerds keeps saying he's going to be the voice of Grogu. When Grogu starts talking, it's going to be Christopher Lloyd. I'm like, bro, please let that be the case. That would be so funny. I would love that.
He's just like, Mando, you're about to see some serious shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bro, that would be absolutely gold.
Oh man,
So good, dude. So good.
that's really good.
Um, so what are you looking forward to in Phase 5?
Is Daredevil supposed to be presented in Phase 5?
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I'm really looking forward
Oh
to.
yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to all the season twos. Whether
Mhm.
whether the show was bad or not, I am looking forward to any season two that pops up, because I really want to see what they have to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Because maybe season one was just kind of rickety. Maybe
Mhm.
they just needed to establish a couple things. And then once they get into season two, they're like, okay, we learned all the bugs, we're gonna fix it.
Yeah, I really pray that Disney and Feige and all these people have been sitting there and going and like really listening to the criticisms of their shows and really like trying to make them better because
Mhm.
I don't mind a couple of hiccups every now and again. Like, we had plenty of bad MCU movies throughout the MCU. Like, the MCU has never been perfect, you know? Like there's always been hiccups. Like, nobody liked Iron Man 3 when it came out. Nobody liked Thor 2 when it came out. This is just, and even Iron Man 2 wasn't really, I thought it was a big hit at the time, but then it didn't really age too well. So like, there's always been kind of hiccups. So, I can forgive some bad TV shows, and you don't really have to watch them. I kind of think about them as like DLCs. It's like, it's not
They're
really
just
the movie
bridges.
content. It's the Marvel like cinematic universe. So like, it's all about the movies. Like, the TV shows are just added content. So I can forgive a couple of bad TV shows coming out, but when they start making shit movies like Thor at this stage, like Thor, like Love and Thunder, I'm kind of just like, guys, come on, like, let's kick this into overdrive. Like, and I honestly think that if like Loki showed up in Love and Thunder, it would have been a way better movie. All they need to
Yeah.
do is just bring in somebody that we love, and then that just kind of brings us back into the MCU mindset of things, like,
Yeah, like, oh man, these people still exist. Like they still matter within this universe.
Yeah.
And that's the big takeaway that I give for anything advancing forward in the years for the MCU. Stop trolling us. Stop giving us things that we are hopeful for, that we are excited for, and then spitting in our faces and telling us wasn't that funny. Because I like, as much as the Ralph Boner thing was a little funny, like I didn't like it. I really
Yeah.
wanted Quicksilver back. I really wanted something along the lines of that. You know, anytime, like even like with Iron Man 3 when they had the Mandarin, we had what was his name? Some Trevor or something. I can't remember his name in the movie, but
Yeah.
Ben
The English
Kingsley
actor,
was,
Ben Kingsley's
yeah.
character. Yeah. Trevor, I
And,
think's the name.
and it was still a troll, and it was like, come on, man, like I just like give us something. Stop like yanking the chain. Like
Yeah,
give us
but
stuff.
to be fair, at least in that one, they actually did do the 10 rings kind of teaser at the end. So I was
Right.
like, oh shit, like the real Adder is coming, So that was like that was cool,
Yeah.
you know?
So I mean, again, no more trolling. Let's get serious because I'm tired of laughing for a while. I like things can be humorous at times, but I want some seriousness. I want some craziness. I want us to start getting into serious shit that like causes loss. Because I feel like that's the big thing. That's what we love as people watching movies and reading comics.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want to bring up before we break? I think we're nearly at an hour, so it's like I know it's only two of us here. I know if they usually when Hoff's here, we have a lot more to talk about because there's a bit more of a dynamic going. But
Right.
do you have anything else to bring up, or are we good to break
uh
for the week?
I think we're good. The only thing is that don't forget that we're going to be seeing Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special pretty soon. I think it's coming November 25th.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. The trailer was hilarious. We're actually going to see Kevin Bacon in it as well. Like it's so funny. Like I was impressed. Like the trailer's funny. Obviously we got James Gunn going over to DC as well. I don't know if we spoke about that on the podcast, but like James Gunn's like the new like CEO and president of fucking DC, and they're like renaming it the DCU, and he's got massive plans. And I don't know if you saw Jason Momoa said in an interview, he's like, my dream project has just been announced. I can't even talk about it yet, but like they're talking about my dream project. So some people are speculating that they might do a Lobo movie, and he'll actually get cast as Lobo as well as being Aquaman. That'd be so sick, bro. I'd love it. So like, I think James Gunn's a sweaty, he's a nerd, and I think, DC's actually in good hands for once. And I would not be surprised if in like say 5, 6, 7 years when they actually properly establish the DCU, if there is genuine competition for movies, I think they will both be like firing all cylinders. And I think we're gonna have like really good Superman movies, really good Batman movies, really good like Justice League movies and The Flash and everything. And there's going to be two cinematic universes like full throttle, proper competing for box offices and stuff against each other. I think it's going to be an incredible time to be a nerd.
They need to
Incredible.
bring it. They need to bring it, man. We need that competition so that we
They
can
will.
stop having these like
They will.
lackluster MCU shows.
I heard a rumor about a Amanda Waller Checkmate movie, and like Checkmate is like a storyline that only ran pretty recently in DC Comics, and it was a really really cool storyline between like the Justice League and like Suicide Squad and so on, and all the villains and stuff. And apparently Joe Magliano's Deathstroke is rumored to be in it. So I feel like they're really trying to hang on to the best bits of like Snyder's verse and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I'm very interested to see where all that goes. I really am. And yeah, like apparently I actually only read today that he said that he had about like 15 minutes of unused footage from the Peacemaker finale with the Justice League. So like, you know what I mean? Like that could be all used for something as well. Like, you know, so it's like, it's crazy. Like there's so much coming, bro. I'm really, really excited.
I am too.
Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, smash a like on the video. And if you're listening to us on a replay, let us know in the comments below what you think of all the nerdy news from the weekend. What did you think of Wakanda Forever? Did you like it or not? And we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.